Alright, it's Shem the Pen. I'm back with another record review video here for the Keystone Statement. Just give you 5 records, I yap about them, and I'll tell you everything you need to know. So, let's see what we got this week. The Kinks, Everybody's in Show Business. Look at how awful this cover is. Jesus, look at this. We have Ray Davies, full of himself. We've got fucking Laurel and Hardy, the Marx Brothers. What the fuck is going on with this cover here? Marilyn Monroe. This is a double album. I mean, this is just one of the most misguided albums. This has got some good music on here, but one side is studio, one side is live. The live stuff is a little bit, you don't need it. I mean, it's got some good tunes on there. Brainwashed is good. Cute Schizophrenia is great. I mean, it's got some tunes from the album Muswell Hillbillies, which is probably my favorite Kinks album. That's the one I'd recommend more than any other. Maybe that or Lola. Everybody knows Lola is a great karaoke song and sort of a trans anthem, maybe before its time. This album, though, not so much. I feel like the studio side, it's one of those albums where they thought they were going to make, like, a Life on the Road album. Like, look at this. Here Comes Another Day, Sitting in My Hotel, Motorway. They were... It never works when a band sort of says, hey, man, we're going to tell you about life on the road. We don't care about life on the road. You know what I mean? We don't relate to that. Nonetheless, the song Sitting in My Hotel is one of the best Kinks songs. One of my favorite. And by the way, look at this. Produced by Raymond Douglas Davies. We get it. You're a little full of yourself, huh? But Sitting in My Hotel really is a genuinely great song. It's a piano tune, and it's sort of aware of the goofiness of all this. That you almost maybe think, okay, maybe they're purposely going over the top here. I mean, obviously they're saying, I mean, everybody's in show business. It's one of those things where it's like, almost like what Bono does with U2, like, oh, I'm poking fun at, I'm making a commentary on rock stars. Meanwhile, you're acting like an asshole rock star yourself. I would not dare to insult Ray Davies to compare him to an asshole like Bono, but it's still, this album, the Kinks were cool, though. Even if I'm going to shit on this a little bit, I put this album on and I dig it, and it's got the great song, You Don't Know My Name, the Dave Davies song. Dave Davies, they had a little bit of like almost an Oasis kind of relationship in this band. But Dave got some good songs in, and Strangers from the Lola album is one of the best Kinks songs of all time, and one of my all-time favorite tunes. Would I recommend this album? No. But that doesn't mean I still don't like it. So how's that for a review? Talib, Kweli, and High Tech, Move Something single. I can't stand Talib Kweli. I don't know why I have this. I think because I liked Most Def, and I liked the Black Star album with Most Def, but Talib Kweli stinks as a rapper. I'm sorry, and I can tell you that this is the single when I realized Talib Kweli stinks, because on the song, on the B-side, Good Morning, it's got the lyric. He's got these like really try-hard, complicated metaphors and punchlines where he's just trying too hard. And Good Morning has the lyric, it's like, we'll blow it out like you left every appliance in the kitchen on at once. And it's like, no, that doesn't really work as a rap punchline. Talib, no, it's... and I think the only reason Reflection Eternal and these guys were interesting is because High Tech was a good producer. And he later got involved with Dr. Dre, and I think he probably ghost produces, even now, probably ghost produces for Dr. Dre. But man, Talib Kweli stinks. And I don't know why he still has a career now. I mean, he's also one of those like conscious rappers that it's like it's so I hate the idea of conscious rappers because in a way like all rap is conscious rap. I mean, I know there's some stupid stuff out there, but it's like you're not above other rappers if you're saying, "Hey, we need more schools and we need to clean up society, man." It's you're just kind of being preachy, and you're not above, say, Redman or whoever, just because you're gonna name drop an author that we all read in community college. No. So I'm sorry to Talib Kweli. I'm sure he's a nice guy and he means what I hate to shit on him like this because he means well and he's a positive voice and yada yada yada. But I can say this is the single when I realize he stinks. So sorry, Talib. Next up, we have the triple album. George Harrison. All Things Must Pass. This, we know from the end of the Beatles, George Harrison, in about 1969, was really the most prolific of all the Beatles. And if they hadn't broken up, a lot of the tunes on here would have been on the next Beatles album. John was a little bit drugged out and a little bit in a downtime. And Paul, it's funny, Paul's first solo album, not too many good songs on there. I mean, Paul carried the Beatles in the second half. When you break down the Beatles, the first half is dominated by John Lennon. The second half is dominated by Paul McCartney. And they're really both equally good. Neither of them are better than the other guy. They're just both genius. But here we have little George, I should say, had his moment here where all these tunes that he was building up, and you can see actually in the movie Let It Be, he's playing some of these tunes, and John didn't give a shit. And Paul was really having none of it. He was not. I don't think Paul liked the idea of more than one George song per side on the Beatles. But anyway, we get All Things Must Pass, where we have produced by Phil Spector. It's sort of the wall of sound kind of thing, and it's a great album. This is. We've got the first song is the song written with Bob Dylan, I'd Have You Anytime. We've got My Sweet Lord, which of course George got sued for. I think my favorite on this is Beware of Darkness. Watch out now, the greedy leaders, they'll take you where you should not go, while weeping apple cedars just want to grow and grow, I mean, that's a great lyric, I don't think this should really count as a triple album because the third is a horrible. It's called the Apple Jam. Let's take a look. Here it is. This stinks. Apple Jam. Fuck this one, man. It's just like bad jamming, and it's like it makes you appreciate the bands that can really do, the Almonds or the Grateful Dead that can really jam and be listenable. George Harrison jamming with his buddies is not listenable in the least. And I think even Eric Clapton's on it. I'm not a big Eric Clapton guy anyway. But this is great, man. And Isn't It a Pity's on here? The song All Things Must Pass. I still to this day think All Things Must Pass should have been a Beatles song. It's just got that magical, sort of classy vibe that I think would have been a perfect Beatles tune. But that's fine. We got this one, and pretty much George made one more good album after this, and then he tapped out. That's pretty much the end of the road for George Harrison. But least he got this one out. And I can say it's a tough one to get through all the way through. It's kind of samey and dour. And look at him. I mean, he's like, well, you're taking a picture of me? You know, George has that. I have a little bit of. He pisses me off sometimes. If you see in the Beatles documentaries where he's like, oh, I'd rather not talk about those times. He's talking from his mansion. Oh, I'm sorry. You don't want to talk about the Beatles. You'd rather go meditate on your 19 acres. You know. Sorry, Joe. I feel bad. He's a good guy, though. But a great album. The Doors, Weird Scenes Inside the Gold Mine. I think this is only available on a record. This is a greatest hits thing. This is, I'd say, I mean, The Doors is one of those bands. It only had, 5 albums. You don't need a greatest hits. The Doors were great enough where just buy the albums, man. But if you're going to have a greatest hits, or you're going to, when this came out, here's the one thing about 70s and 60s sort of greatest hits things, is what you don't realize is a lot of times you'd have records and they'd wear out, or you'd just like overplay them, or they'd scratch, or whatever. And you also couldn't make playlists like we have. I mean, we take that for granted. So greatest hits album actually did have their place. Especially something like this. This is like pretty much somebody who just put together a really cool Doors playlist, and somebody who got the Doors, the darker and weirder part of it, and not just like, because you have Break On Through, etc., but you got Love Street, and I mean End of the Night's kind of a rare one. And you've got Who Scared You, which was only a B-side and is one of my favorite Doors tunes. Who Scared You? I mean, it's a tremendous tune. Horse Latitudes, of course, is the poem about there's a ship carrying horses and they are forced to jettison them off the boat, and the horses are drowning in the storm. That was Jimbo's poetry. Love Her Madly. You get some different stuff on here when the music's over. So I like this as a collection. Weird Scenes Inside the Gold Mine. I love the Doors, love Jimbo, and would I put this on now? No, I just have a playlist, but I think this got some play back in the day, and I think many joints were rolled on this gatefold right here. All right, we got one more, and we've got a single. We've got Superchunk. This is Ribbon and Who Needs Light. This is bought from Vintage Vinyl in Edison, New Jersey. Merge 47. I love this single. I love Superchunk. They were, they're still around. They're actually playing, I think, this weekend in Athens. But they're indie rock pop band, and they had a run where they just wrote some incredible, great melodies and great tunes. And this is, this is one of those singles that's like a little bit like the Beatles' Revolution and Hey Jude. And there was a time when bands were writing for singles, and the songs they wrote they put so much work into those songs. Maybe we're almost coming around to that time again now that people aren't listening to albums as much. But this is just one of those singles where it gives me that vibe of Ribbon is a real catchy up-tempo tune, and Who Needs Light is a little slower. Who Needs Light to See, Not Me, and it's just, the other thing about singles, when you put out a single, it's got to be something you want to listen to over and over again. It's got to have that, indelible quality of re-listenability. And that's what a lot of those late 60s, early 70s class, the Rolling Stones, honky tonk women, that kind of thing. But I love this. I think I tweeted this to Mac's Twitter account. And that's it for this week. So I think maybe next week I'm going to do 5 bad albums that I really hate. We had a couple ones I didn't care for, but let's get some bad albums. We've seen some good ones. So thanks for watching. This is Shem the Pen.